Hi, this is Craig, and welcome to another episode of Cruising Off Duty. If you've been following the channel, you know we're in the middle of a transatlantic sailing series, covering everything from the basics of provisioning to casting off and going out into the big blue Atlantic Ocean to do the 3,000 nautical mile passage from the Canary Islands to St. Lucia. At this point, we're getting pretty close to the Cape Verde Islands, and by the end of this episode, we're done day 6 of the passage, which makes us about 1/3 of the way there. As in every episode, there's going to be plenty of sights and sounds of the sailing that went on, but with 1/3 of the passage done, we've had enough time on the boat for us to be able to answer questions like, what did you hope to experience on this transatlantic crossing, and has it met your expectations? All this and much more is coming up in this episode of Cruising Off Duty. Okay, morning, it's day 5, and I'm half an hour left in my first 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. watch. It was a good watch. Weather's been beautiful, as per every day it seems like. Pretty much clear. In the middle of the night you gotta wear a coat, even though we're pretty low. We're at least 3/4 the way to Cape Verde Islands, and you'd think this far south we wouldn't have to wear a coat ever, but at night it does get pretty chilly. As you can see, we're slowly getting further from Africa, so we're getting less of that low-level haze and dust. I have not yet seen a full sunset right to the water or a full sunrise away from the water. And the same thing today. You probably won't see the sun come up until it's above that low-level permanent haze that's there. Anyways, that's it for this morning. I'm gonna go around at some point. This is day 5. We've been on the boat long enough to be able to say what we like and what we were hoping to get out of this transatlantic on a catamaran trip, and if it's met our expectations. Some things maybe that we didn't expect that we've had happen on this, because almost everybody here who has a sailboat has a monohull, so this will definitely be the longest passage all of us have ever done on a catamaran. So I know for me, I'll go through it later, but for me it's pretty much what I expected. The motion is more quick than a monohull, but I love the fact that you're not heeled over when you're sailing. You're flat, and the only thing you get is this kind of quick gyration between when a wave hits one hull and not the other one. You quickly jump up and then it jumps back down, and it's more of a staccatic feeling as opposed to when you have a keel boat. The keel kind of keeps the boat from doing any quick twitches, but then you have the downside of you're constantly heeled when you're sailing. So I'll take the cat over a monohull, because I don't like, this is a 2.5 to 3 week voyage. 2.5 to 3 weeks of being always on a lean and everything having to be put away extra secure so it doesn't slide around is kind of a pain. And we haven't had to do that. We pretty much leave stuff lying around. Like if you look in the kitchen down there, the peanut butter and the jam is just sitting on the counter, and everything can kind of just be left where it is. I mean, there's a water bottle right here that just sits there. That's not even really in a cup holder, and it doesn't go anywhere. So even though there's waves and bouncing, it doesn't ever lean enough that anything actually goes anywhere, which is really nice. We are on day 5. Dan and Cheryl's watch. Beautiful sunny day. And we're going straight downwind as per usual. It's hard to hold the camera and hold yourself.
Something shimmering in your eyes, and they say if you want to glimpse the future you need space.
There's Alex going for a walk. Getting some exercise.
I'm running around the boat.
Would you follow me to wander?
We can do that in fairly calm seas.
Take my hand and walk beside me in a whirl of thunder. Fear is an imposter. When you look at me this way, I find it hard to not give in. Ooh. Just like the night before. You were slow.
Okay, end of day 5, well almost end of day 5. I think it's day 5, it's starting to all meld together into one day, but pretty sure it's day 5. Again, I feel like a broken record. Beautiful weather, downwind sailing, wing on wing with the jib and Genoa. Crew's getting along great. We just played Wizard card game while we had our kind of late afternoon nibbles. It's been a beautiful day. Again, blue skies, wind behind us, just enough to be comfortable sailing. We're wing on wing. I'll turn it around again. It's been the same thing for what, 2 or 3 days now. Wing on wing with the Genoa and the jib. You can see the sun starting to almost set. And for once you notice there's blue sky almost down to the water. And that's because we're getting further and further away from Africa. We're going southwest now. And so now that we're away from the Sahara Desert, we don't have the murky sand that's blotting out the sun when it gets close to the horizon. So hopefully today will be the first of a bunch of many days of beautiful sunsets as we get away from Africa. And sunrises in the morning. I work the 4 to 8 a.m. shift and then the 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So my shift is now, the evening shift is almost over. But in the morning I want to start seeing some of these beautiful sunrises I've heard about out on the ocean. And that should happen now that we're away from Africa. So looking forward to that. So we're gonna have 6:30 now. My shift ends at 8, but we're gonna have dinner around 7:30, quarter to 8. So I eat right at the end of my watch. And then I usually go to bed fairly early because I have to be up at 3:45 in the morning to start my morning watch. So overall, I can't say, couldn't have better weather. I mean, dead downwind is very comfortable sailing, and no rain in the forecast, no heavy winds. If anything, the only thing we're worried about is maybe we might hit some really light wind days, but maybe that'll be a good day to get the drone up and take some aerial photography of this boat in the middle of the ocean, so we can look forward to that. So that's it for now. If anything else happens on day 5, I'll let you know. Otherwise, I'll sign off for today and I'll see you at 4 in the morning tomorrow. Well, as you can hear, people are snapping photos of the beautiful sky. Now, we didn't get that sunset right to the water like we were hoping for. That comes a few days later when we're even further away from Africa. But we still got to say the weather was beautiful for this entire trip, and these beautiful red skies are still really nice to see. You know what they say, red sky at night, sailor's delight. Got our first dead flying fish on board. Where did you find them?
It was just on the top step.
Oh.
There's a few of the little scales there. So
Nobody heard him flopping around?
no, I didn't hear him. I just saw him when I was driving.
Pretty big, eh?
No, look at there he is. Hey, buddy. Passed his best.
Yeah. There we go. Huh.
His wings fabulous, eh?
Yeah.
Big wings.
He's out from fish heaven.
That's good. I'd finally seen one.
Gotta get off, right?
Send him to his watery grave.
I'll send him in. Bye, buddy.
He's so close to the water.
Yeah, he could have just flopped down, but he's running
Bye.
from predator.
Yeah. And then commits kamikaze. All right, welcome to day 6. Again, like every day, we are wing on wing going downwind. Perfect sailing. Perfect weather. Couldn't ask for more on this trip. There's a sign, of course, that haze on the horizon is still there from Africa, so we don't get the perfect sunrises. But look at this, following seas. We saw one freighter go by us last night. It seems like every shift you see at least one boat. Maybe they're not that close, 5-10 miles away, but you can still see the lights on the horizon, and you see them on the AIS. But yeah, great day. And one of the things I wanted to see is a flying fish. Yesterday I saw them flying over the water for the first time, and this morning we found a dead flying fish for the first time on the back sugar scoop of our port side hull. So it's unfortunate. I was kind of hoping if one landed on deck we'd hear it flopping around and be able to push it back in the water, but unfortunately he landed where we didn't see him or hear him, and he died overnight, unfortunately. But yeah, flying fish, tick, seen them up close and personal now. Anyway, that's it. I've just finished my 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift, so I'm off to bed now. Gotta get some sleep. That was a rough shift. I was more tired this shift than I've been in a long time. So that's that. I'll tell you if anything interesting happens today.
Cheers. And our one glass of wine. Cheers. Cheers.
Bring the beer in from outside. Cheers, cheers, cheers.
There's one beer person.
Yeah, cheers. Okay, we've had a great day 6. That's almost the end of my 4 to 8 p.m. watch. As you saw, I interviewed everybody on the crew, asked them a bunch of questions. I never actually answered the questions myself, so I'm going to go through them really quickly. Who are you and where are you from? You know who I am. Craig Bowman, cruising off duty. You know that if you're watching my channel. Sailing experience, 7 years with a Beneteau 351. This is the boat I own. A 35-foot monohull. Before that I raced on other people's boats before I owned that boat, which was my very first boat I owned. Longest non-stop sailing trip prior to this one was probably 12 hours, and it wasn't overnight. It was just across Lake Ontario, starting from about 6 in the morning and getting there around 6 p.m. So 12 hours of sailing non-stop during the day, no overnights. So this is by far the longest passage I've ever done. Prior catamaran sailing experience, I rented a catamaran in the BVI for a week with 2 other couples. So this is only my 2nd time sailing a catamaran. It's what I want to do in the future for sure. So this is just reinforcing that. I've really enjoyed it. What did you hope to experience from this transatlantic crossing? Obviously, night watches, sailing non-stop for a long period of time and taking your turn doing watches. I wanted to do that. I wanted to experience being in the big ocean, experiencing swells, obviously seeing no land in any direction for many, many days. And we're definitely going to get this on this transatlantic crossing. What worries or concerns did I have starting this crossing? I guess never having big ocean experience, I was worried that, I guess my main thing was I didn't want to embarrass myself if I ended up being the guy that's always seasick. That wasn't a problem. First day I was a little green, but I got over it quickly and I haven't had a problem since then. Other concerns, what other concerns would I have? I guess like everybody, you're always worried you'll hit that big tropical storm, you can't get away from it, you know, outraces your boat, next minute you're stuck in 40 or 50 knot winds. Luckily we've had beautiful weather, so that hasn't been an issue. Were my family, or friends or family, concerned about me doing this crossing? I don't think so. Janice really actually pushed me to do it. When they offered it to me, she like shoved me towards them, like, take him, take him. So she wasn't at all concerned. She wants me to get the experience. Surprisingly, my mom seemed a little concerned when I told her we were actually doing it, even though I told her I'm going to live on a sailboat and travel around the world. She's always been, oh, okay, and doesn't seem too concerned until it actually happens. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh no, it's too soon. So, but she's fine. And how did I address their concerns? Well, Janice really wasn't that concerned anyway, and being able to send messages every day. If you want to send text messages or emails 10 times a day, you can do that with the Iridium system we have on the boat, which is really, really good. So that's allowed me to stay in touch, and I think that reassures people that we're not, you know, dying out here. Also, they've been able to track us on a couple of different websites where they can track us live where our boat is in the Atlantic, and that makes them feel safe that we're, like, if we stop moving for a day or two, they might be concerned like something happened to the boat, especially if we didn't text them or email them. But since they've been in touch, they've been fine with it. After 6 days or 1/3 of the way, what is your overall thoughts? And what were you expecting? Well, it's pretty much what I expected. Like I said, I've been on a catamaran before, not for this length of time, but I've been on a catamaran before, and I knew the feeling of bouncing through waves on a catamaran. It's a little more staccato than a keel boat, because a keel boat, the big long keel in the water, means that when you're going from side to side, it's a little bit of a slower motion because the keel kind of doesn't allow the boat to twitch too quickly. Catamaran is a little more staccato. It kind of, if there's a wave hits one side then the other, it quickly goes from one side to the other. But it's way better than a monohull because you're never heeled over for any length of time. You might twitch to left and right, but you don't stay at like a 30-degree angle, and everything doesn't slide off your tables and stuff like that. So it's been a great feeling of sailing, but it was kind of what I expected. Is there anything that I'm surprised at that you didn't expect? I guess not. I mean, the first day or two, I'm a light sleeper anyway, so all the noises of the water banging underneath the hulls or just creeks or whatever from the boat, which are just normal anyway. I'm not used to that because I don't sail overnight generally. I've never sailed while I've been sleeping. So it's one of these things, like I've never slept in Janus, just keep sailing. So I haven't really had to worry about creeks and groans that I don't know, because usually we're anchored overnight. So just getting used to that, but that wasn't really unexpected. But I guess I was surprised how hard it was for me to stay asleep for any length of time for the first couple of days. But yeah, I'm over that now, so that's excellent. And my top highlight of the trip so far, well, getting along with the crew, it's been really great. We've been fed well, like 2 or 3 people here are really great cooks, and they're always cooking when they're on watch. We are in teams of 2, so one of the 2 who's a cook will actually be working on food preparation while the other, a member of their crew, is watching the helm. And therefore, the food, when we wake up, there's already a meal almost ready, and that's been really great. We've been fed really well. We're not eating, you know, a cup of soup or whatever just to try and minimize work in the kitchen. We've been eating like normal meals. My highlight has definitely been, well, 3 things I wanted to do, and one of them, they all happened in the first day. There's dolphins. I wanted to see dolphins swimming in the bow of our boat, and that would happen the very first day. It's happened again, but I wasn't awake when it happened. It happened a second time. Another watch also saw some pilot whales blowing nearby. I didn't get to see that, but it's happened. I've seen flying fish. We've even seen a flying fish land on the boat, and that's been kind of cool. And bioluminescence. Almost every night so far, in the middle of the night when I'm doing my 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift. At 4 a.m. when it's pitch dark out here, the trail behind the Catamaran is just lit up like little lightning bugs in the water, lighting up, and that's been really cool. So I guess dolphins, bioluminescence, and just sea life like whales and flying fish, and I think we saw a Dorado jumping through the water too. That was kind of neat as well. So stuff I just don't experience on Lake Ontario or any of the Great Lakes or the St. Lawrence, so it's something I wanted to do, and most of the things I wanted to do have been fulfilled already, and we're not even a third of the way through the passage, so it's exceeded my expectations. So anyway, that's the answers to my questions. I think that's probably the end of this episode. Until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising. Okay, funny story. I'm sleeping with my earbuds in, and Dan, I heard noises, but I didn't know what it was. And Dan wakes me up to say,
I just woke in the bathroom and there's a flying fish in our shower.
a tiny little hatch up there on the top of the shower. It must have flown in through that. It wasn't even open that far. And you can see all the fish gut stuff on the floor. Flying fish flopping around in our shower. And Dan the man picked it up with his hand and walked it outside and threw it back in the ocean. But I closed my hatch just above my bed because the last thing I want is a flying fish flying into my bed and flopping around while I'm asleep. So, anyways,
what an experience!
Yes, that's a one for the books. That's the end of this episode, where I give you a little inside glimpse of what it was like to live on a moving sailboat. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel a lot because it tells YouTube to suggest it to more people. There's plenty of sailing goodness in the episodes to come, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. Also, you can hit the notification button, which will send you an email when the next episode is available. What you'll see in the future episodes is that this is a downwind passage, but it had a lack of wind. So first we tried a wing on wing, and then we tried to break out the spinnaker. Anything to get a little bit of speed going. It may not have been a windy passage, but it sure was a pretty one. A special thanks to the patrons that support the channel. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Anyways, there's lots to look forward to. I hope to see you in the next one. And until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising.